After World War II, most of Europe was split into East and West, with all of these countries becoming a part of the USSR's sphere of influence. Notably to the south, Greece, despite mostly bordering communist countries and having a large communist resistance, never joined the Eastern Bloc, which raises the question, why? Why didn't Greece become a Soviet puppet in the Cold War? So as of 1943, there were many in the UK who could see that the writing was on the wall for Germany and that eventually the USSR would triumph. Whilst Churchill was happy to see the defeat of the Axis, he was less pleased about the idea of a Soviet-dominated Europe. And as such, he came up with an idea to stop the USSR whilst making sure that they were the ones to destroy Germany. The plan was to use the US military to conquer North Africa and then invade Italy. From there, the Allies would quickly move into the Balkans to stop the Red Army before it could get through Romania. However, there was one problem with this plan. It was insane. By 1944, Churchill realised this, and so he sought to negotiate with the USSR to preserve some of East and South Europe's independence from communism, which would be done by maintaining their monarchies. Now, US President Franklin D. Roosevelt didn't approve of this, and so to make negotiations with Stalin simpler, Churchill simply didn't invite him. As such, the UK and USSR agreed to what's known as the Percentages Agreement, whereby each country in the region would be subject to a certain amount of influence from the West or the USSR. To start, Romania would be 100% in the Soviet camp and have no Western influence whatsoever. Yugoslavia would be split 50-50. Bulgaria and Hungary would overwhelmingly come under Soviet influence, but the West could maintain a presence there. Whereas Greece would see its government aligned with the West, but the Communist Party there would be permitted to run in elections. As you'll know though, this agreement wasn't worth much, since it wasn't long before all of these countries soon had communist governments and wanted little to do with the West. So why didn't this happen to Greece? Well, the main answer was geography. Greece's location meant that if it were to fall into the communist camp, it could potentially be used as a naval base to disrupt British shipping through the Mediterranean. And as such, the British were happy to make use of former collaborators as well as anyone else who wasn't a communist. Unsurprisingly, this led to conflict between British troops and Greek resistance fighters, and Stalin opted to stay out of it. His reason was that he knew that Britain saw a communist Greece as a near-existential threat to its empire, and so would never willingly back down. And thus, it would be better to try and maintain some semblance of friendly relations over a country that wasn't all that important to Moscow. Furthermore, Stalin believed that if the USSR provided direct aid, the USA would do so too, and thus Greece's communists would actually be much more likely to succeed with the help that they were getting from Yugoslavia and Albania. But when the USSR and Yugoslavia fell out, that aid dried up too, leaving the Greek communists on their own. And when the United States got involved anyway, their fate was largely sealed, and by 1949 Greece's position as a member of the Western capitalist world was a